The sky in Edinburgh that day was as grey as the mood of millions of fans when the red news appeared on all the news sites. Sam Heughan, actor, Outlander, is in critical condition, urgently hospitalized. Caitríona Balfe appeared at the hospital, staying overnight. The news had just been released less than an hour and had shaken the entire Scottish and Irish showbiz world. No one knew what had happened, only that Sam, the iconic face of millions of fans, was lying motionless in the recovery room, and outside, people saw Caitríona's figure, her hair tied up hastily, her eyes dark, still not leaving the hospital room door. The first photos. The paparazzi arrived faster than anyone. They captured the moment Caitríona, wearing a loose grey sweater, walked out into the hallway with a cold cup of coffee in her hand. Her eyes were directed towards the hospital room, her face filled with an indescribable fear. She did not answer any questions, just pursed her lips, walked quickly, avoiding the flash. Fans began to stir. Why was she here, in the middle of the night, when she should have been with her husband, musician Tony McGill? That question, at first just curious, then became fuel for speculation to spread across social networks. Tony McGill and the suspicious silence. Meanwhile, Tony McGill, Caitríona's secretive husband, appeared only once in front of the house, refusing to answer the press. Reporters captured the moment when he bowed his head, his face cold, his hands clenched, as if trying to hold back something. A close source revealed, Tony knew Caitríona was in the hospital with Sam since last night. He was not happy about this at all. Those short sentences were enough to make social networks explode. The hashtag #Caitríona and Sam quickly climbed to the top of Twitter, accompanied by a series of comments ranging from doubt, criticism to defense. Some Outlander fans firmly believe that this is just a deep friendship. But many others believe that between Sam and Caitríona, there is always a feeling that has never been expressed. Reason for hospitalization, an unsolved mystery. No one knows the real reason why Sam was hospitalized. Initially, there were rumors that he had a car accident, but the hospital refused to confirm. Some other sources said it was due to exhaustion after a long time of filming in harsh conditions. But when a nurse accidentally revealed that Sam had to go into surgery that night, things became more unpredictable. Amid the news, Caitríona was still there, quietly like a shadow in the hallway. Occasionally, she would enter the hospital room, stay for a few minutes, then leave again. People saw her holding Sam's hand tightly as he lay motionless, his face pale. At one point, she leaned down and said something very softly, causing a young nurse standing nearby to turn away because she could sense the intimacy and regret in her voice. The fateful moment. The next evening, a tabloid broke the news. Caitríona Balfe ends her relationship with Tony McGill. Source: she decided to stay in the hospital with Sam Heughan, despite everything. No one knew where the news originated, but the truth was that that same night, Caitríona removed all of her photos with Tony from social media. That action seemed to put an end to her secretive marriage. At the hospital, night fell slowly. The yellow light from the recovery room covered the hallway in a layer of chilling silence. Caitríona sat by the bed, still holding Sam's hand. His hand was cold but still alive, his fingers slightly curled, as if clinging to a thin thread of hope. "I won't leave you again," Caitríona whispered, her voice trembling. Sam moved slightly, his eyes still closed. It was unclear whether he heard it or was dreaming, but the corners of his lips seemed to lift slightly. Outside, the sound of cameras and people's voices grew louder. But in this room, time seemed to stand still, between a man fighting for his life and a woman who had just decided to cross the line of all norms. And somewhere, behind the hospital door, a figure stood still, witnessing it all, eyes filled with anger and pain. Tony McGill had arrived. On the third night at the hospital, the cold drizzle still clung to the glass doors. Inside, the cold white fluorescent lights cast a tense silence over everything. Sam lay there, breathing heavily, the monitor beeping steadily but harshly. Caitríona sat beside him, not taking her eyes off him, as if she were to let her guard down for even a second, everything would disappear. A wave of divided public opinion. The rumor that Caitríona had left Tony to be with Sam was no longer a leaked news, but the main topic of every newspaper. Some fans, especially the Outlander fan community, wholeheartedly supported it, calling it a love that transcends time. But there were also many harsh critics, claiming that Caitríona had betrayed her marriage and used the situation to cover up the truth. Outside the hospital, a small group of fans carried banners, praying for Sam while chanting messages of support for Caitríona. But there were also prying eyes, sarcastic whispers, like invisible needles piercing her mind. The real cause. The initial car accident rumor was now gradually replaced by another story, leaked from an anonymous source. Sam was not only injured in the collision, but also because of a latent disease that had been with him for many years. The accident was just the last straw, pushing his health to the dangerous limit. The only person other than the doctor who knew this clearly was Caitríona. Many years ago, while filming a harsh season together, Sam had suddenly fainted on set. Caitríona had promised to keep it a secret, to help him avoid the scrutiny of the media. In return, Sam would agree to regular checkups. But then the hustle and bustle of work, long trips, and Sam's stubborn personality made that promise fragile. The confrontation in the hospital room. That night, as Caitríona stepped out into the hallway to take a deep breath, the hospital doors opened. Tony McGill appeared, silent, but his gaze was enough to make the air thick. He walked straight toward her, ignoring the greeting. "I just want to hear one thing," Tony said, his voice hoarse with restraint. "Are you here because of him, or because of something else I've never known?" Caitríona bit her lip, her eyes on the cold tile floor. She knew that if she told the truth, not only would her marriage fall apart, but Sam's secret would be exposed as well. But if she kept quiet, Tony would forever believe that he had been betrayed for love's sake. "There are promises I have to keep," she said softly, "even if it means giving up everything." Tony looked at her, his eyes shifting from anger to confusion to nameless pain. He stepped back, as if realizing that he had no place in this story. A promise from the past. Caitríona returned to the hospital room. Sitting down by the bed, she remembered the moment many years ago, when Sam, in the middle of a cold, rainy night, had saved her from a serious accident on the way back to the hotel. At that time, he had only said one sentence: "If one day I get into trouble, you will be there. No matter what happens." At that time, she had thought it was just a joke between two close friends in the rain. But now, in the room filled with the smell of antiseptic, she realized that she had entered the fateful moment of that promise. A final look. Near midnight, Sam opened his eyes slightly. His gaze was directed at Caitríona, a tired but warm gaze, filled with both gratitude and regret. She smiled, even though tears were welling up. "I'm here," she said. He wanted to say something, his lips moving, but the heart monitor suddenly sounded an alarm. The door to the room opened, and the medical team rushed in. Outside, Tony stood still, looking through the small window. In his eyes, the bitter truth was that he had lost something he could never get back, though he never quite understood why. The door to the hospital room closed, and the outside world continued to speculate. But in that room, amid the pounding sounds of the machines, there was only one story that those three people truly knew, and probably would never tell anyone.